Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order, 1 o'clock. Before we start, I just want to have a couple of reminders. Reminders for today's meeting is that members from the media may sit in the upper balcony at the reserved media table. All other guests, please take a seat in the first floor gallery. And if that is full, there is an overflow seating in the second floor in the Victoria Room, where you will be able to see and hear the meeting. We live stream the meeting on our YouTube channel, and recording is available after the meeting. This meeting is also broadcasted live on your TV, Cogeco subscribers channel 10, HD channel 700, and rebroadcasted on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and on Saturday at noon. Because the meeting are accessible to the public in all these ways, video and audio recordings by members of the public is not permitted in council chambers. This is to ensure that all attendees and those who come to make deputations feel at ease. So thank you very much for your cooperation. I'd like to start off with, we have some recognition, so I'll start off with the mayor. If you go ahead.
Thank you. Through you. October 1st is recognized globally as International Day of Older Persons, or celebrated in Canada as National Seniors Day. In the city of Kawartha Lakes, we have a vibrant senior population, and many of our communities are attractive destinations post-retirement. Our seniors are an integral part of our city. Many help to build the businesses that we still see today. Others help to institute many of the programs and events that remain favorite pastimes. It is an honor to recognize this segment of the population, to say thank you for your hard work and your many contributions. I also have an acknowledgement for National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. September 30th is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, a day of remembrance to honor the Indigenous people affected by the residential school system. It is a time to reflect on the trauma endured, the lives lost, and the lasting impact of the abuse experienced. On Friday, September 27th, we will raise a flag in recognition of this important day and invite the public to join us in our observance and collective commitment to the journey of reconciliation. I'll do the land acknowledgement. The City of Kawartha Lakes respectfully acknowledges that we are situated on the Mississauga lands and the traditional territory covered by the Williams Treaties. We are grateful for the opportunity to work here, and we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples, both in shaping and strengthening this community and the country as a whole. This recognition is connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I'd also like to call on Kelly Maloney to give us an update on the International Plowing match.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, members of council. I'm very pleased to be here to speak with you today about a very exciting event coming up next week, starting October 1st to the 5th. The International Plowing Match and Rural Expo will be held at the Lindsay Fairgrounds, and it has been a while coming. Although your camera may not pick out, this is actually the shirt from 2018-19 when we wore it in Verner to invite them to come in 2020, all of the attendees. So I do encourage every one of you to attend next week. It will begin Tuesday morning with a parade at 10 a.m. and opening ceremonies that will follow that. And then throughout the week, you'll have the opportunity to see all sorts of plowing competitions, from tractor plowing, horse plowing, antique plowing, but also exhibitors will fill the grounds, both indoors and outdoors, including our very own Showcase Kawartha Lakes, which is being put on mainly by ourselves, the City of Kawartha Lakes, and our partner, the Kawartha Region Conservation. And we have many other partners and donors that will be showcasing Kawartha Lakes within that space. You'll find that you've all been given copies of the show guide, and it is located with our corporate logo on the map. Following the opening day festivities, there's also many other activities that people can come to watch. The rodeo, the Canadian Cowgirls, musical ride, logger sports competitions, and many more. Entertainment, over 30 bands, I understand, have been booked to play on different stages throughout the grounds. So this is an event not to be missed. You can purchase your tickets through the Ontario Plowmen's Association website. They are the host of the event, and their website's plowingmatch.org. Other tickets you might be interested in getting are for the Celebration of Excellence Banquet, which is held on Friday evening near the end of the week. They'll hand out plowing awards and trophies from the competitions, but also we'll be crowning the new Ontario Queen of the Furrow. So the women that are competing throughout the week will have their final stage of the competition there at the banquet. And it will wrap up on Saturday with their closing ceremonies. For those of you who are visiting, certainly to the community, we welcome everyone. There will be upwards of 60,000 people attending the event through the week. We also recognize that impact on traffic may be significant around the area of the match along Highway 7 between Lindsay Street and Angeline Street, and up Angeline Street, where everyone will be parking on the west side of Angeline Street and have the opportunity to take a tractor and wagon shuttle into the site. For those of you who are trying to get around town not attending the match, we encourage you to choose an alternate route for everyone's benefit, but also encourage everyone when they come to the match and are traveling around to pack your patience with you, and everyone will have a great time. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kelly, and I appreciate all the work that you've been doing for the plowing match. There's also an agenda at the back table. If anybody leaves, they can pick up the agenda at the back of the table here when you leave. Also like to recognize Councillor Ashmore. He's also a chair for the International Plowing Match, and if Mr. Ashmore, if you'd like to say a few words, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and you're also an integral part of the Board of Directors. And on behalf of the Board of Directors, I'd like to thank Kelly for just being up here, and Kelly was an integral part in starting this whole thing. We were and former Mayor Andy Latham, we journeyed to Verner, west of North Bay, but this started about a year before that when we went to Guelph and approached the Guelph group of hosting the plowing match, which we haven't hosted since 1992. And it's going to be an honor to host this International Plowing Match and Rural Expo. As Kelly had said, it'd be approximately 60 and upwards to 70,000 depending on the weather and who all comes. So we're showcasing Kawartha Lakes here to not only our neighbors and the province and the country, but also to the world. We do have international visitors and Canadian visitors, which is great. So just wanted to thank everybody who's helped make this a reality, especially the sponsors, the exhibitors, the volunteers. The volunteers were just the heart and soul of this organization. And wanted to welcome everybody to attend and make sure that if you have time to experience this, it's something you won't experience for many years to go. So everything is very positive, everything's well organized, and everybody's in a great frame of mind, and we're eager to get this on its way next Tuesday, the 1st of October to the 5th of October. So please come if you can. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Could we all please stand for O Canada?
Native land, true patriot love, in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh,
I'd like to take a moment of silence right now, please. Thank you. We'll start with 2.3, the adoption of the open session agenda. I think Councillor Smeaton, you have that?
I do, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through you, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Ashmore. I move that the agenda for the open session of the regular council meeting of Tuesday, September 24th, 2024 be adopted as circulated and with the following amendments. Additions. Item 6.2 being a deputation by Arash Yazdani regarding renewable energy projects relating to item 9.3.18 on the agenda. Item 6.3 being a deputation by Antonio Pena regarding the proposed surplus declaration, closure, and sale of a portion of road allowance and a proposed sale of a city-owned property adjacent to 2 and 4 Gilson Point Place in the geographic township of Mariposa relating to item 9.3.15 on the agenda. Item 6.4 being a deputation by Maggie Braun regarding the tree preservation bylaw relating to item 11.1.3 on the agenda. And finally, item 6.5 being a deputation by Doug Robertson and Wayne McLeish regarding comments on a petition regarding a request for the City of Kawartha Lakes to collaborate with the Ministry of Transportation on the implementation of traffic lights or roundabout at Elm Tree Road and Highway 7, Kawartha Lakes. And that's relating to item 12.4 on the agenda.
All in favor? Thank you. And any disclosure of community interest? Seeing none. And 4.1 will go to council, and notice of information from council and staff. We'll start with council. Councilor Oren.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'd like to invite everyone to the Bob Cajun Fall Fair, the daddy of them all. That's their tagline, so I had to say it. With something for everyone from Thursday to Saturday. Also, this weekend, Kawartha Conservation is bringing back the Kawartha Fall Fair for its second year on Saturday, September 23rd at Ken Reed Conservation Area, just north of Lindsay. And billed as a celebration of community and nature. The free festival promises a full day of fun for the entire family from 9 to 5. On September 30th, join me in keeping with the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and Orange Shirt Day. On September 30th, 2024, Truth and Reconciliation Community of Bob Cajun and the Mishkade Center for Indigenous Knowledge invite you and your family and friends to a remembrance ceremony starting at the Boyd Museum at 5 p.m. and ending at Beach Park in Bob Cajun. And then finally, I attended yesterday a Conservation Ontario meeting in Toronto, and I'd heard that there was a 1 in 100-year storm in Toronto last summer, last July. I found out there were 3 within a month, and that's unheard of. So just out of interest, I was not aware of that, and then one of those events dropped 130 millimeters in like less than a couple hours. So I learned a lot. It was a real eye-opener. So thank you.
Councillor Smeaton.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through you, the first one is an announcement we share. You've been a member of the BIA for a very long time. We'd like to thank them for all that they've done downtown. You'll notice all the corn stalks and everything. The downtown looks just beautiful. That took 2 trips to Stelmar Farms and back with trucks and trailers, and that's all volunteer committee work, people going out and helping things look so great. So thanks to them. I'd like to thank the hospital. Our family had a reason to actually use the hospital. So I get to say thanks as a citizen. Not every day you get a chance to see just how great everybody tells you it is. And it really is. We are very, very lucky to have that Ross Memorial Hospital. I'm going to celebrate the landfill committee, and I did not know that one of our new members was going to be here today. So that's a bonus. It's a big committee now. It used to be tiny. And challenging ideas, celebrating ideas. And Director Robinson was at our last meeting too, which was really great. And so just a really great example of committees in action. Congratulations to Lindsay Pontiac on their 50 years. My wife and I always found it funny when we moved here that one of the first people we met was Mr. Lindsay from Niagara Falls. Because we were from Niagara Falls, and the first person we met was Mr. Lindsay. Anyway, funny story at home. And the last thing for Ward 5, I've had at least 6 people this month that have told me that when they call the front desk, regardless of how they feel the issue was resolved, they always say, please know the staff were excellent. So once again, there's that service at the desk. I get comments on that a lot. So thanks to them, and they're just fantastic. Thanks.
Thanks for that. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you. First, my monthly report on the library, and there's a bit to unpack here, so bear with me. The library will be honoring the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation with a few different events. Children can visit library branches on Saturday, September 28th, and or Monday, September 30th to make a beaded bracelet. Adults can come in and make an Orange Shirt Day magnet at the library branches on those days as well. At the Lindsay branch, and Lindsay branch only, they're hosting 2 talking circles on Monday, September 30th. The first one at 4 p.m. is appropriate for school-aged children. The talking circle at 6 p.m. is more geared to the mature adult audience. These circles are Indigenous-led, including smudging ceremonies, and they'll speak to the impact of residential schools. All members of the public, as well as the mayor and council, are invited to attend these events taking place in front of the branch, 190 Kent Street West. In addition, the library has a collection of reading materials and resources that promotes understanding, dialogue, and respect for Indigenous cultures and histories. Everybody is invited. Moving into October, October 20 to 26 is the Canadian Library Month Awareness Week, Public Library Awareness Week. And our library system is running a few events to raise awareness in the value of public libraries. Patrons are invited to submit suggestions for the inaugural Library Book Cart Naming Competition. Winners will see their names attached to book carts located in all 14 library branches for the year. In addition, library patrons are invited to enter a draw to win a chance to be a librarian for a day. And again, mayor and council are invited to be in this competition. That would be fun, to be a librarian for your day, in charge of all those books. Finally, the library is running a Refer a Friend initiative over the course of October, in which patrons are invited to share the benefits of using the library, refer to the referrals to your friends, neighbors, family. You're entered into a draw to win a gift basket of reading goodies. Moving on, just a recap on the Harvest Moon, sponsored by the Little Britain Community Association in Little Britain. There is over 200 people attending the dinner. I was there myself. Preceding that was the tractor parade, and I always show up and say, hey, how can I help? And they just sort of, oh, we're okay, Dan, we're okay. But this time they actually put an orange vest on me and a walkie-talkie. Says, you're in charge of crowd control at the 4 corners. I thought, oh, great. Somebody gets run over, it's my fault. But everything was good. The crowd behaved. It was a great parade, a great day. It was a bit rainy, but we got through it. Later on the dinner, over 200, followed by a dance. And all the money proceeds collected go to the Large Project Fund, and what that is for Little Britain is they're going to, along with grants, and they're going to do a big project for the community, yet to be determined. So that fund is building, and that's what I have for today. Thank you.
Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, through you, Chair. The Harvest Hike is happening this Saturday, September 28th. It's all proceeds are going to the Janettville Food Bank. They're meeting at the Alverton Cemetery at 9 a.m. and walking to the Janettville United Church. So for any details, just log into their Facebook group under the Janettville United Church. Saturday night in Bethany, it's the Euchre night at the Bethany United Church hosted by the Mamber Swans. And also this, oh no, you touched base on the Kawartha Conservation, so thank you for that, Councillor Warren. Fall bake sale, Saturday, October 5th, 10 a.m. to noon at the Mambers Township Historical Society at the old post office in Bethany. On the Friday, October 18th, Small Halls, Ontario will be hosting a music festival in Pontypool featuring Royal Wood. Doors are opening at 7 o'clock. Also, just a registration shout out for the Pontypool Community Center for their Halloween Paint Peter party on October 27th. Need to register early for that one. And just a reminder to folks that the Kawartha Annual Farm Fest Day is on Saturday, October 12th for all local tours. It's a self-guided tour. We got some pretty amazing agricultural farms in the Kawartha Lakes, and it's a good opportunity to see what we have in our neighborhood. So that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. A few announcements. This past August 29th, the Bob Cajun Community Expansion Enbridge Gas Project had its groundbreaking on Pigeon Lake Road, and this is a $150 million project going from Omimi to Bob Cajun, expansion of the natural gas, Canadian natural gas. And we'd like to thank Energy Minister Lecce and MPP Laurie Scott and Mayor Doug Elmsley for coming and speaking to this groundbreaking, and there were many people there. Just thank Enbridge as well. On October 5th, the Dunsford Fire Station will be holding a bat for a cause, and it'll be held at Wilson Fields here in Lindsay. The proceeds will be going to the Dunsford Food Bank, and this is a new event that the Dunsford Fire Station is putting on this year. To help the Dunsford Food Bank, which is run by Faye Carslake, who does a fantastic job in the community. The contact would be to get a hold of, to participate in this event is Deb at 705-464-0251. And speaking of food banks, I'd also like to thank Barry Marr in Omimi. He does a tremendous amount of work for the community with the Omimi Food Bank. On October 9th, at the Emily Omimi Community Center, there will be a public information session from 6 to 8 p.m. And the topic will be the feasibility and future of splash pad and redevelopment concepts of the Omimi Beach Park. And the public is certainly most welcome to attend. That's October 9th at the Emily Omimi Community Center, and looking forward to the public's feedback on all those topics. And October 23rd, Wednesday, I'll be holding a Ward 6 Town Hall at the Lindsay Rugby Football Club, starting at 7 p.m. at the Lindsay Rugby Football Club, 69 Vince Jones Road. And finally, as mentioned, the plowing match, and just wanted to thank everybody for all the work they've done, and it's certainly been an honor to work on this project with many other great people. So looking forward to that event. Thank you.
Councillor Perry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I want to commend all who are working on the plowing match as well for such an excellent event coming here to our local community. Deputy Mayor, imagine my surprise earlier this week, walking down the main street of Fenelon Falls, thinking people were rummaging through the flower beds on the main street. But no, it was members of the volunteer gardeners of the Fenelon Horticulture Society. And to them I say bottoms up for all of their great work that they've been doing to keep our main street and all the flower beds looking so great, both as a tourist destination and for us locals to enjoy. And I just want to make sure I commended them for their volunteer work in public. This coming Thanksgiving, soon around the corner, gobble, 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 Deputy Mayor, it's the annual turkey trot in Fenelon Falls. The race is for all ages. Everyone is welcome. Saturday, October 12th, I hear that there are still a few spots left to register. It's a wonderful family and community event for all levels and abilities of participation. So see you on Thanksgiving Saturday at Garnet Graham in the morning. And just to wrap up, if I could, Deputy Mayor, I much appreciate the recognition today of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. As a proud Métis citizen, I'd like at this time to acknowledge my ancestral granny, Nikanikijiak, of the Anishinaabe Minanime, the people of the wild rice. And I want to say especially how great it is to see this sea of orange around the table. It's so heartening and so hopeful in terms of a pathway for reconciliation. And just to close, I feel somewhat called to read a very brief song from one of my mentors, Marshall Gans. And it goes, "Freedom doesn't come like a bird on the wing. It doesn't come down like the summer rain. Freedom is a hard-won thing. You've got to work for it, fight for it, day and night for it, and every generation got to win it again. Pass it on to your children, mother and father. Pass it on to your children, brother, sister, and sibling. You've got to work for it, fight for it, day and night for it. Pass it on to your children. Pass it on. And in a spirit of reconciliation, let's all pass on to each other freedom. Or as it said, freedom is a beautiful thing." Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you for that. Councillor Yo.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and through you. Just seeing how it's Orange Day and for a great cause, it also brings to mind a safety warning for everybody up here, especially in the north. This is a time of year where small game and wild bird season opens to hunters, and it goes right through to deer season and moose season. So everybody's out there enjoying their trails and walks along the countryside. Please remember to wear a bit of orange, and for everybody's safety's sake, and just keep your heads up. Thank you.
Thank you. And the mayor? Nothing? Okay, thank you. And 4.2, staff. Anything from staff? Seeing none? Okay, we'll get, okay, here we go. Can I have a motion for the minutes of August 27th, regular meeting, 2024 meeting be received and adopted? First by Councillor Perry, second by Councillor Richardson. All in favor? Thank you. And we're going to deputations. The first one is 6.1, comments relating to the memorandum regarding wind and solar developments. Jean Belfour and Cynthia Sneath, you have 5 minutes. If both of you are speaking, you have 2.5 minutes each.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and councillors. Cynthia and I are here today because we want to congratulate 4 of our councillors for standing up and talking about wind turbines and solar farms and how we feel about them in our community. We watched the YouTube video of your at the end of last week, and it was very, very good. So Cynthia has a few words to say about that.
Good afternoon. First timer here. I am here today to acknowledge and praise the discussion that took place in this room regarding the memorandum presented by Councillor Warren at the Committee of the Whole meeting on September the 10th. I was proud of the fact that many questions were raised and experiences shared regarding the topic of renewable energy projects in the city of Kawartha Lakes. It was great to see Council in discussion mode. It became clear as I watched the meeting online that many councillors felt the proposal needed more detailed information, and I agree, a great deal more would be necessary, including input from constituents, before agreeing to something that would impact our city so deeply. The kinds of questions that were raised by councillors are often the same ones that we as lay citizens experience when we're faced with such far-reaching projects such as the Willing Host memo, and only given a sketchy outline of what the impact might be in our amazing community. So I hope that Council will remember their own discomfort the next time a deputation is made that asks them for some details about an agenda item. Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia. I also included in my deputation notes from a Substack article that was presented by Maggie Braun over here. It's an excellent article. She saw the same 10 minutes or so of the YouTube video, made some great comments. So it's quite detailed. It's in the notes that I've submitted. I wanted to just share my kind of naive understanding of how things work when you make decisions at this level. When I look at things like wind turbines and solar farms, I see two sources of information. One is coming from other parties. So we've got NGOs that influence decision makers. We've got policies coming from the provincial government. We've got information coming this way, and that information meets the sort of middle ground. The other information comes from people on the other side. These are our constituents, the people who elected everybody here who is sitting before me. And presumably, you're representing our interests, so that our interests and the interests of other groups come together and there's a meaningful discussion. So that's my naive understanding of how this is supposed to work. When I saw the memorandum, I was looking specifically for the work that was done to show how much due diligence was done by the councillor who wrote it, to see how many people she had spoken to that said, I want more solar farms, or I want more wind turbines, and I want to see evidence. So what I did is I summarized in a second document 7 points. And the 7 points basically say that if I was looking as a businessman at a business case, and I'm looking at all the stakeholders for that business case, what I would be interested in doing, I'd like to see 7 steps completed to make sure that the community of people that you're representing are truly represented. Their ideas, their thoughts, their concerns are truly represented. I didn't see that, but that's why I'm presented that to you, and I'm hoping that you'll use it as a standard by which you will begin to judge all future memorandum like that to make sure that we, the public, are represented. So that's all I really want to say today, but the 4 people, the 4 councillors who spoke up, I'm still getting goosebumps over it. I was happy, so that happy to see that kind of conversation was taking place on our behalf. So thank you very much for that. The other thing I wanted to do, if I have any time left, is I wanted to make an announcement. So if I don't have time, do I have time? So we have a proud moment here in the city of Kawartha Lakes. Last night, one of our very own was declared the director of the Stronach Foundation for Economic Freedom. It's our very own Dr. Kirsten Kelly. Kirsten, you want to stand and be acknowledged? Come on. So we were all last night, and Maggie was there too, we were all in Aurora at Frank Stronach's restaurant. And we had 68 people be there, listen to Frank talk about his 7 economic principles. They're all economic principles, by the way, that he believes would make this a better country, a more prosperous country, a fairer country. And I'm very proud to be associated with him as well, because I helped Kirsten put it together. There's the brochure. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows that we have here in Kawartha Lakes the person who will be coordinating that across the country. We should be proud. So
Just wrap up if you can.
Yeah, that was all I had to say, so I'll leave it unless there's any questions.
Okay, just stay there. Is there any questions? Okay, seeing none. Can I have a motion that the deputation of Jean Balfour and Cynthia Sneath regarding the memorandum on wind and solar developments be received? Councillor Ashmore, and seconded by Councillor Smeaton. All in favor? Passed.
Thank you, folks.
6.2, renewable energy projects. Arash Yazdani, you have 5 minutes.
Hello, Deputy Mayor and members of Council. I'm not here to talk to you today about climate change, global warming, or the ongoing debate related to carbon dioxide emissions of the like as it relates to the energy sector. I'm here to talk to you about something that is often overlooked as it relates to renewable energy. The economic opportunity that exists within this growth sector, specifically that of the solar energy industry. My name is Arash Yazdani, and I'm the founder and chief operating officer of PRI Engineering, a geotechnical engineering firm which generates 80% of its revenue from designing the foundations for solar mounting structures across North America and across the world. Our head office is based here in Lindsay, Ontario, on St. George Street. I welcome you all to come by to give you a closer look at the state-of-the-art work we are doing in the solar energy sector for projects as far north as Inuvik, Northwest Territories, Barbados in the Caribbean, remote islands off Vancouver Island in the west, and a number of projects in Nova Scotia and other maritime provinces in the east. We employ 10 individuals in the Lindsay office, with 6 of them residing in the city of Kawartha Lakes, 3 in Peterborough County and 1 from Durham Region. We also have a Mississauga office where we have 4 employees, and finally a Calgary office which employs 6. While the majority of our revenue is generated from renewable energy, our largest non-renewable energy customer is the city of Kawartha Lakes. And CKL benefits from not only experts here in Lindsay office, but also from our Mississauga and Calgary locations. As someone that was born and raised in Lindsay, Ontario, I'm proud to say that we do the lion's share of geotechnical and materials testing work for the city of Kawartha Lakes. This would not be possible if it wasn't for the benefits PRA Engineering has gained from the renewable energy sector. Over the past 15 years, I have witnessed the renewable energy sector grow into the major industry it is today. Some have said that it will soon dwarf the automotive industry worldwide, and even if it does not, it will continue to rival its size. A few notable technological advancements the industry has seen at a pace which is quicker than most would have suspected are: the power rating of photovoltaic modules has increased on average at least 5 times or greater in that timeline. Battery technologies have also been optimized, developed much more efficiently, and are being built with large battery energy storage systems. And the overall cost of the systems have dropped drastically. This results in less land needed to develop solar generation projects of the same power rating systems from 15 years ago. The ability for energy to be stored in batteries when the sun is up and be used when the excess power is required or when the sun is not available. And finally, the overall cost reduction of these systems has allowed for a much lower return on investment timeline, which has generated much more interest from financiers and less dependency on subsidies. Nationally, there are programs in most major provinces promoting renewable energy, and this is not a coincidence. It is a direct response to the International Energy Agency's announcing in 2023 that the cheapest form of electricity to be built is to build an electrical generation facility is solar power. All the while, we see the global oil demand decelerate. Once again, I'm not here to promote solar energy as it relates to climate change, but to plead for the city of Kawartha Lakes to align themselves with the economic global energy trends. Locally in Ontario, as many of you know, a major investment was made in the early 2000s, one that developed a lot of North American experts in the field. I like to think I am one of them, and it led to the experience which allowed me to establish PRA Engineering here in Lindsay. During the feed-in tariff program, solar generation systems could only be permitted on Class 6 and 7 agricultural lands, meaning that only the lowest potential agricultural properties could be utilized for these systems, to deter development on good farmland. Furthermore, restrictions were put in place in the later programs requiring visual screenings with roads and or neighbors or other elements which would ensure little to no disturbance to both the natural world and local community. Most recently, agrivoltaics has started to gain traction, essentially the practice of combining solar photovoltaics with existing agricultural practices. These solar systems are being built higher from the ground than those traditionally used to accommodate livestock and existing crops, allowing for livestock to graze and crops to be grown, but also provide benefits from a standpoint of allowing for partial shading. Partial shading has a number of benefits, including reducing the potential of heat stress on crops that are sensitive to high temperature and excess sunlight, reduce the overall evapotranspiration potential, meaning a reduced risk of drought and or overall reduced costs associated with irrigation needs.
If you could wrap up, please.
In closing, I'm urging the City of Kawartha Lakes to proceed as a willing host for renewable energy projects, specifically solar energy and battery energy storage systems, which will develop opportunities for both local businesses and agricultural communities to benefit from the prospering and growing sector, to not only take advantage, but to become a leader in agrivoltaics and renewable sector. In doing so, we should ensure guidelines are put in place to focus developments on brownfields or other low-value properties or in areas where no disturbance is made to neighboring properties. Please feel free to reach out to me for any support on these endeavors.
Thank you. Just stay there if there's any questions. Councillor Warren.
Thank you for coming. That was a really interesting deputation. Can you give us maybe a little bit more information of your background and your experience? Like, this is great. I was not aware that we had a business like yours in Lindsay, Kawartha Lakes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we established the company in 2019. I'm a geostructural engineer, which means that I deal with what's going on beneath buildings, structures. One of the largest risks in solar foundations is actually the foundation itself. We're working on hundreds of projects across North America in this field. And just as an example as how large of a risk the foundation is, we're working on a project in Alberta where we have 125,000 foundation elements. It crosses across 4 quarter-acre sections. It's going to produce 560 megawatts of power. That's enough for almost 100,000 houses. To put in 125,000 foundations successfully and economically, there's quite a bit of engineering that needs to go into that. And so that expertise is all taking place here in Lindsay. We are known in the Canadian sector as the most experienced in this field, and we're quickly developing a name for ourselves in the northeastern part of the United States. I've currently got 3 people from the Lindsay office working in New York State this week. We're working on 5 major solar farms in upstate New York. We've worked on over 75 projects in New York State, and we see that as like a very, very large place for growth for us. And, that's all the brain power is happening here in Lindsay.
Any other questions? Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, through your chair. Thanks for coming today, and it's always great to hear success in our local community when it comes to small business. Just one question I do have for you. When you are building these projects, do you have to build them where there's existing infrastructure?
Yes. It wouldn't be economically feasible not to, because the cost of those infrastructure pieces, I mean, theoretically you don't, but like from a developer standpoint, it doesn't make sense not to. Transmission line costs are very, very high. So if you've got to build a brand new transmission line to get the power out, that doesn't make sense. Access roads, you need to be able to safely access the facilities. Like Hydro One needs to be able to access the facilities in case of any emergencies. So, any road infrastructure would already need to be built. If there is, depending on the locations of some of these facilities, there may need to be some upgrades to existing infrastructure. But, in my opinion, I see that as an opportunity for the city. If developers do come and are looking to set up shop here and build facilities, I think it's fully fair that the city expects them to upgrade the roads that, they need to access these facilities. And, transmission lines could be upgraded as well, which would only be a benefit for the community.
Thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Joyce?
Councillor Richardson kind of asked my question. I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming. Can I have a motion that the deputation of Arash Zandini regarding the renewable energy projects be received? First by Councillor Perry, second by Councillor Warren. All in favor? Thank you. 6.3, proposed surplus declaration closure of the sale of a portion of a road allowance and proposed sale of the city-owned property adjacent to and for Gibson Point Place in the geographic township of Mariposa in the city of Kawartha Lakes, also relating to agenda item 93.15. Antonia Pina.
Good
You have 5
afternoon,
minutes.
everyone. So I'm here to follow up on the presentation made on the previous council meeting. And my neighbor presented the thoughts and opinions of the community, which most of that was accurate, I guess. I'm here to provide background to that so that when you make your decision, you have more information and hopefully you'll make the decision based on a good data set. So I'm the owner at 2 Gilson Point Place, and my neighbor Keith and his wife own number 4 Gilson Point Place. The lots in question are behind our property. And this all came about because last year when I moved in, basically on the day that I floated my dock up to the shore, one of the people, there's only 2, that walk their dogs on the property, decided I should not have a dock there. It's not allowed. I'm doing something wrong. And I politely said, thank you for letting me know. I understand I can apply for a permit and I'll be doing so in the spring. And she was fairly irate. And walked away, and you'll be hearing from the city. I said, okay, thank you for letting me know. Sure enough, 2-3 weeks later, the dock was posted. My neighbor's dock was posted because he already had one there when I moved in. And I complied. I removed the dock. Done. I figured it's almost the end of the year. No big deal. I'll apply in the spring. This spring, I applied for a dock, and that's where it all started. That took a long process. And at that time, my neighbor and I, we were maintaining that property. We were mowing the lawn, keeping it under control, make sure ticks and such don't infiltrate the area, and people who do walk their dogs, the dogs would be safer. I have a dog, the dog would be safer. And I even cleaned up the shoreline. There was debris there from years. I took it onto my own time, my own money, and I took a couple loads or a full trailer load of garbage to the dump. Anyway, time goes by, and Christine Oliver, who I was speaking to about this dock application, informed me that that application was not accepted. And I said, thank you. Is there anything we can do? And she said, well, actually, the town has proposed, and again, the town has proposed that the property be sold to us. Those 2 lots in question behind our properties, if we did end up purchasing them, would be divided behind Keith's property, and behind my property would be my land and his land. And in order to do so, we started the process, and the sign was posted. And eventually, one of the neighbors saw the sign, and that's the lady who spoke on the 10th, and she was quite upset about the fact that this lot was going to be sold to us. I understand, that's hearsay, because I never heard her being upset. I heard it secondhand. She went through the neighborhood, got about 24, 25 people to sign a petition that the land should not be sold to us. And I never expected the land to be sold to us. When I bought, I knew that was town land. I didn't expect it to be sold to me. It was recreational land. I just would like to put a dock out there. So she presented that, and before she presented, she said to some of the neighbors, hey, we got to use this land and show that we use it. So on one of the long weekends, she had friends and family camp on that land overnight, 2 nights. That's not allowed, as I understand. That's recreational property. You can go have a picnic, you can walk your dog, you can go fishing on the shoreline, but it's not overnight camping. I didn't make a big deal about it. In fact, I didn't even say anything to her about it. I waved when she drove on the lot. You know, she got people to sign, but reality is nobody uses that land. Nobody except 2 people that walk their dogs. One of the neighbors 2 doors down, he was here on the 10th. He walks his dog along the shoreline back to his property. And there's this other lady, the one who said the dock was not allowed. She periodically walks her dog. They walk their dogs. They don't always clean up after their dogs. In fact, I don't see every time that they walk their dog there, but I've noticed on several occasions that they don't clean up. And at the time, I was mowing that area, and it's such a mess. Then my lawn tractor's dirty. I got to deal with that. So I just wanted you all to understand that it was not our request to buy the land. I would be happy to maintain the land at no cost to anybody, but I would really like to have a dock out there. And I think that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, just stay there until we see if there's any questions. Councillor Joyce.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you, Mr. Penna, thank you for coming, and there's always, it just shows there's always 2 sides to every story.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for your community service cleaning up the area, and just so you know, I have a memo going to Public Works. There's still more debris there to do some further cleaning.
A little bit.
Yeah, and if you see subsequent debris dumped there, please let me know and we'll look after it. I still have to make a memo to Parks and Recreation to study this area as a park that will include, should it be a public park? Should it be a public park with dock licenses? And if so, how many? Or not? Maybe, and if it comes back, no, it's not a public park, it should be sold. So we have to wait the results to staff to take a close look at this and all the different alternatives. So that process will be engaged. If, in fact, it's recommended a limited number of dock licenses are a good idea, I want to just make sure that number 2 and 4, Gilson, we get first right of refusal. I think that only makes sense since you had docks there before, since you moved. So I'll do my best on that. I can't promise it, but I'll try.
Sure. Actually, one other point that as you were speaking, I just remembered in the last presentation, it was made point that that was the favorite watering hole for a dog. It's actually not even part of the property in question because there's lots, Part A and Part B, and then there's a right-of-way that goes to the lake itself. And when they take their dog to the lake, they go on that right-of-way to the water. Dog goes into water, swims around, and comes out. They never really go on the land. Really, there's only 2 people that have gone on the land in the year that I've been there. I only moved in a year ago. Keith, my neighbor, purchased the property from the builder, and he's been there 3 years. And he concurs that nobody ever uses the land. It's just a couple people walking their dogs.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No. Okay, can I have a motion that the deputation of Antonia Pina regarding the proposed surplus declaration, closure of the sale of the portion of the road allowance and the proposed sale of the property adjacent to 2 and 4 Gilson Point Place in the geographic township of Mariposa in the city of Kawartha Lakes be received? Councillor Joyce, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor? Okay, 6.4, the deputation tree preservation bylaw. Maggie Brown.
It's always great to be here. It's September and things are just picking up with municipal politics all across the country. So thank you for having me, Mayor, Council, and Chair. I just wanted to start off with a couple fun questions so we can get to know each other a little bit better, and as it relates to trees in Canada. So I just wondered, who here has ever planted a tree? You can just raise your hand. Who here has planted 1,000 or 100 trees? Feel free. I thought you did. Who here has ever had to take down a tree on their property? Okay, so this is a pretty common experience here in Canada, isn't it? And I truly believe that Canadians, we naturally want to take care of our environment. After all, we live in the 2nd largest country in the world and home to the vast boreal forest, which takes up 60% of our land mass and has an estimated 318 billion trees. Canadians love our trees, and we know how to plant, manage, and protect them. So today I'm here to discuss why I believe the tree preservation bylaw, as it currently is drafted, and I realize it's just in the drafting phase, could end up making it harder for people who are already pretty good stewards of our land, especially homeowners and rural property owners. I will cover 3 main points. First, the unnecessary financial burden this bylaw could place on landowners. Second, how it fails to distinguish clearly between small-scale projects and large developers. And third, how it could worsen or exacerbate the housing crisis that we're in just by adding affordability issues. So let's start with the financial burden. It's my understanding that under this bylaw, homeowners and rural owners, landowners, could face a $1,000 application fee just to apply for the permit. And added to that, a $1,500 per tree charge for removal. These fees are the same whether you're a homeowner removing a hazardous tree or a large developer clearing land for construction. But in reality, for the average person who just wants to build a driveway or manage their property safely, these costs are excessive. In fact, the cost of replanting a tree is about 1/10 of the fee to apply for that permit. That's why many people may see this bylaw moving forward not as a step towards environmental protection, but as a cash grab. And I know that the municipality doesn't want that as a public perception and is not your goal. The feedback from the municipal survey overwhelmingly shows that residents oppose the high fees, especially for single-family homeowners and rural landowners. So next, just briefly, a little bit more on the distinction between private landowners and rural homeowners versus developers. So right now, the bylaw doesn't clearly differentiate between the small property owners who are developing land and building small family homes or single family homes versus large scale developers. So I think that that should be a distinction in the bylaw. Homeowners building single family homes often need to remove trees to create safe and accessible spaces, such as driveways and foundations. These are necessary small scale actions, but under this bylaw, homeowners are subject to the same stringent regulations as developers. Additionally, rural landowners, and this is important because Kawartha is the second largest rural municipality in Ontario, so you serve a lot of rural landowners. They are often just trying to maintain their property and create safe living conditions and utilize their property in a way that makes sense to them. So they shouldn't be they're not operating on the same scale as developers who are often clearing the land for a profit. So I think the bylaw needs to be very clear about those distinctions instead of a one-size-fits-all approach. So finally, we need to think about the broader housing crisis. We are, as you know, currently in the midst of a housing affordability crisis, and Kawartha Lakes, just like the rest of Ontario, is struggling to meet a demand for more homes. The Canadian ideal, despite sustainable development priorities, is still single-family homes. That is the aspiration of most Canadians. This bylaw, if implemented as it is, will add more costs and delays to building of new homes and make it harder for people to afford housing.
If you could wrap up, please.
Yeah. So in conclusion, I believe that we can protect our environment without overburdening property owners. And I propose that no fees or permits for single-family homeowners, rural landowners, and small projects. These groups shouldn't be penalized for basic property management, and I think we should focus on making their lives easier, not harder. As I said, large-scale developers have a bigger impact, and these are the projects that should be subject to fees and regulations. And just recognizing the housing crisis and encouraging people to develop their lands for housing, not discourage them with costly permits and added bureaucracy. And just in closing, I've covered a few points today, but my full report dives deeper into the issue and provides additional recommendations, looking at local businesses, smaller arborists in the area, their perspective, and alternative approaches like incentive programs for planting trees. And I encourage you to look at that report. It will be circulated afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I'm seeing none. Can I have a motion that the deputation of Maggie Braun regarding the tree preservation bylaw be received? Mayor Emsley, first, second, Councillor Smeaton, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
6.5, comments on the petition regarding a request of the City of Kawartha Lakes collaboration with the Ministry of Transportation on the implementation of traffic lights or a roundabout at Elm Tree Road and Highway 7, Kawartha Lakes, related to item 12.4 on the agenda. Also, we have Paul Robertson and Wayne McLeish. You have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Assistant Mayor, Deputy Mayor, sorry, councillors, staff, and fellow deputies. My name is Wayne McLeish. Our family has lived at the corner of Elm Tree Road and Highway 7 since 1973. We have witnessed and helped out where we could at many accident scenes, including many fatalities during those 51 years. I almost hesitate to call them accidents, as the intersection is totally open. It seems to us that impatience and carelessness are the causes of most of these incidents. We agree that traffic lights should be installed at Highway 7 and Elm Tree Road. But in saying that, We believe that a few steps should be implemented in the short term that the City of Kawartha Lakes should complete as quickly as possible. Obviously, lights aren't going to be installed overnight, or over the decade maybe, but hopefully that's not the case. We have a couple of suggestions here. One, reduce the speed limit approaching intersection of Elm Tree Road from both north and south from 80 kilometers to 60 kilometers to 40 kilometers at 1 kilometer intervals. Presently, the speed limit is 80 kilometers right at the intersection of Highway 7 and Elm Tree Road. That's like 10 feet away. Install larger flashing lights over, number 2, install larger red flashing lights over the stop signs approaching Highway 7. The existing lights have helped reduce accidents, but larger ones would be seen further back from the corner, and that is an easy fix. Maybe road cuts approaching the intersection from both directions, maybe a quarter of a kilometer back from the intersection, indicating the change of speed and traffic flow. After that's done, the waiting game is in place again with the MTO. Then proceed with lobbying the MTO to speed up rebuilding the intersection as per the drawings, etc., that have been developed by the ministry over the past number of years. Stoplights need to be in the first phase, 5-year plan, but that 5 years has already gone by. There's another 5 years on that already. Realignment of both Highway 7 and Elm Tree Road to accommodate the current traffic flow is a major safety concern. At present, lights are included in the 10 to 20 year upgrade, far too long in the future. Lights are required, but only in conjunction with the MTO highway and City of Kawartha Lakes rebuilding to improve the intersection. We recognize that there has been a tremendous increase in traffic over these 51 years. We live in a rural area, and agriculture community is an important part of the traffic flow. We rarely see any large farm vehicles or trucks causing accidents. Most often, it is impatient drivers trying to save 2 minutes. We hope that this gives you a perspective from one family. That's me, my wife, my son, my daughter. They've all been involved, and we live in the closest house to the corner, which is like 40 feet away. Hey, anybody got any? That's it for me. Anybody got any questions?
Any questions? Councillor Smeaton.
Thanks for coming, Wayne and Paul, and I just jotted down a few notes, but this is 2 years of hard work that you've helped me with. I'd like to thank Ann for all the visits in the dining room, and Wayne for sharing the binder full of all this information and much more. So, your work has been supported with some changes already from the city, and you've acknowledged that, and a lot of the awareness of this whole intersection has stemmed from you and your other local residents across the street and the corners. I really appreciate it. And I definitely want to appreciate all that Supervisor Kelly has done to provide the MTO, the ministry, with all and every piece of needed data on our end. So thanks to Supervisor Kelly and Director Rojas for all that they've done as well to make this neat, tidy, and sent to the people at the ministry.
What did he say?
Any more questions? Councilor Warren.
I was just through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, maybe to Mr. Rojas. Where are we in this process? It seemed like you said it was like 5 years, and in the last 2 years, the councillor has been trying to see it through. So I'm just wondering where we are in the process.
Councillor Smeaton?
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, point of order, I think, through the clerk. I don't think staff can be consulted during a deputation. Is that correct?
Okay, thank you. We'll refer that to staff if we go to the motion. So, okay. Unfortunately, the 5 minutes is up. Mr. Robinson, Wayne took the 5 minutes. Okay, sorry. Could I have a motion for the deputation of Wayne McLeish regarding the comments on the petition regarding the request of the City of Kawartha Lakes? Collaborate with the Ministry of Transportation on the implementation of traffic lights or roundabout of Elm Tree Road at Highway 7, Kawartha Lakes be received. Councillor Smeaton, second by Councillor Ashmore. All in favor? Thank you. At this time, I'll just take a 5-minute break before our presentation is. Thank you. Be back at 2:11. Okay, if everybody would like to sit down, we'll start. Okay, I'd like to just call the meeting back to order. 7.0 correspondence, there is none. And we'll jump into presentations. 8.1, an update on the activities of the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority. Jeanette Lovey-Smith, Chief Administrative Officer of the Autonomy Conservation. Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Council and staff for having me this afternoon. I appreciate making time on your busy calendar. I am presenting to all of our member municipalities an information update. So it's also a good opportunity for us to see each other face to face. And it's just really good information that I have today. I would like to start by just acknowledging your great staff. I know that you often hear this, but I would like to also give my thanks and gratitude to your staff, in particular your Chief Administrative Officer. He's been fantastic to work with, and I really do appreciate it. When I had started these presentations, I had attempted to be a bit interactive and modern, perhaps, in terms of things. I just like to say I failed miserably with that. So I am going to suggest that you go to our website, because we do have lots of great tools and things on our website that I was not able to bring into the actual presentation, but I'm going to point some of that out to you as we go along in terms of things. So this is our jurisdiction, and I like to put this map up for a few reasons. One is just to, again, highlight our watershed that we manage. Two is to highlight the lands that we directly manage. Those are our conservation areas, but also our forest managed lands that we have. And also recognizing that our conservation authorities' watershed boundaries are not based on municipal boundaries or any other political boundaries. They are based on studies of how the water actually flows through the actual watershed itself, and they're established that way. So there are many municipalities like yourself that do have more than one conservation authority that you deal with. Hopefully the four of us are all cooperative and work together well. But just recognizing that some municipalities have one and some have four that they need to work with. This is our board of directors that is sitting, and obviously Director Ashmore, Councillor Ashmore is your representative. Our chair is Michael Metcalf from Trent Hills, and our vice chair is Kevin Duguay from the city of Peterborough. And the board elects the chair and vice chair at their AGM every January. This slide itself could be an entire 2 days of discussion. And I just really wanted to highlight the fact that there has been a lot of legislation that has come into place. Since 2018, there have been 38 amendments to the Planning Act and 13 amendments to the Conservation Authorities Act. So that's collectively a lot of change for both organizations to work through. And what we do know is that it takes a lot of communication, good working relationships, and ensuring that there's good processes in place between all of our organizations. So with that, I would just like to highlight the most recent, which is Ontario Reg 4124, which came into effect on April the 1st for all conservation authorities in Ontario. So autonomy conservation is in a good place. A lot of it has been the good work of past boards and past staff, but we continue to be fully compliant with all of the legislation that the province hands all the conservation authorities. I want to be able to highlight, this is one of the interactive components that I didn't do very well, so I'm going to highlight this story map. So we, this year, for our 2023 annual report, prepared it in an ArcGIS mapping, and so you can actually go into that link and zoom in and out of the various areas. We have layers of detail, and it's been very popular. So again, these are just some of the collective highlights that we have across all of our 8-member municipalities in our watershed. And here for the City of Kawartha Lakes, we issued 11 permits and 6 plan reviews in 2023. We also have about approximately 70 reporting performance objectives, and we report to the board. I report to the board quarterly on those objectives. And I can say that autonomy conservation is meeting and exceeding all of the provincial timelines that the province has put for conservation authorities. So again, if you want to hear more about the 2023 year, that story map is a great way to do that. So we have a new strategic plan, which is part of the information sharing I wanted to be able to showcase today. And it's a 3-year strategic plan, really to bridge the timelines from the old one into a new board is in place. And the theme for this strategic plan is water. And you can, again, this is also on our website. And so again, if you're looking for more information or to see how interactive the document actually is, I encourage you to go there. We did this with our in-house resources, meaning we developed it through a lot of workshops and our design work for the strategic plan. And I just want to highlight the rivers that flow through the actual document are real rivers, that was mapped and put into the document. But water was chosen for a theme of our strategic plan because we believe the critical role and function of water in any ecosystem requires more understanding, protection, and sustainable planning if we as a community are to thrive. For the environment, the need for water underpins all of our human activities, natural habitat, and biodiversity, driving the outcomes throughout the watershed. So that's just a section from our prelude of our strategic plan. And through that, we actually have a new vision and values statement, and just highlighting that for you today. There are a number of objectives also in the strategic plan itself, but we're very proud of our values: people first, our relationships, professionalism, collaborative, continuous improvement, and fiscally responsible. And as was referenced earlier in the at Council, you heard Councillor Warren talk about flood management. This is one of the key core objectives, mandates that we do have from the province. Those are the 3 pillars that the province gives all conservation authorities. And again, with the natural hazards such as floodplain mapping, is one of them. So this is another interactive component that we have. It's a mapping that we have on our website, and I really do encourage that if you do have any questions from constituents asking about any component of their property that might be in a floodplain, this is a great tool. And so all they do is need to go to that tool on the website, punch in their address, and it will bring up their actual property. And it will talk about the type of regulatory regimes that might be on that property if it's in the floodplain. And then they're able to, if they're looking for more information, they can submit an inquiry. So it's a great tool. It's really well utilized. And I'm just also taking the opportunity to promote it here at the city. We also have our own climate change strategy. So the climate change strategy was approved by the former board, and it's now, we're a few years into the implementation. So in 2025, we want to take an opportunity to look at the strategy, make sure that it's following along our organization, the path that we've laid out. And then also beside that is a graphic. So what we've learned is that when we partner, so in this case we partnered with the Peterborough Public Health, and we were able to share our data. They were able to use that data in terms of their analysis. And so they did a vulnerable risk analysis, and they used our data to help inform their decisions as well. So it was good collaboration, data sharing, and if there's an opportunity for us to work with you, we would be happy to do that and share what we have. So this is in conservation worlds we would call a Category 2 service. Not all conservation authorities offer this service. But we have a little bit of a niche at Autonomy Conservation around post-development monitoring services. And so this is where a municipality would decide if they wanted to put in place some monitoring of a development as it was happening. We do have staff that go out into the field, collect the data, and produce reports back to the municipality for information around how that development is occurring. So it's really used to ensure that the goals and objectives that you as the municipality set out are put in place, monitored, and obviously we're coming from an environmental perspective in terms of things. So we have, since doing all of the presentations, we have some more interest from our member municipalities, but we currently have 3 of these programs running right now. And I'm getting to the last here. So we have 2 capital campaigns that I'm doing a bit of a shout out for. Again, all of these links, if you go into them, they have a lot more information. So we have a wonderful relationship with the Friends of Hope Mill. If you have not been there, it's really close to Lang's Farm, or Lang's Pioneer Village there, and in Autonomy, South Monaghan. And we are looking to do a capital campaign for the roof replacement. It's a historic mill that is still operating. And the second campaign we are doing right now is also Haroldtown. Again, these links have lots of information. Haroldtown was a Canadian artist, very interesting, and he had donated a lot of property that we have the Haroldtown Conservation Area to Autonomy, and we're looking to do some trail enhancements and tree planting and some signage. So we've already raised close to $22,000 for the Haroldtown, and the Hope Mill is just kicking off. And I believe that is all I have, Deputy Mayor. I'm happy to answer any questions that you and your council have for me today.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions? We'll go with Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and thank you for coming and seeing you again. Yeah, I just want to say what a great job all our conservation authorities do with all the regulations and all the work that it took to bring those forward and make them happen. So well done. I have a question. Does Autonomy have a foundation?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So that was a discussion yesterday. No, at one point in time we did have a foundation. However, a few years back it was wind down in terms of things. A lot of, as most organizations, they do struggle with getting volunteers in terms of things. So we don't have anyone anymore.
Councillor Ashmore.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to Jeanette. Thanks for coming, and I appreciate all the work you do as our CAO and your staff. If it wasn't for you, I mean, the meetings, you do most of the work in the meetings, and your staff, primarily yourself, and very efficient. And if I miss a Zoom link or something like that, I've got it just like that. So keep me in line and everybody else, and we've got a great. I know that our directors are very supportive of you there, and just wanted to thank you for your work there and coming out to Kawartha Lakes today to do the presentation. So look forward to working with you there. We have a really good hybrid method. We do some Zoom, we do meet in some interesting places, which is great. So we'll keep working away at it and look forward to the future work. Thanks.
No questions? Any more questions? Okay. Thank you. Could I have a motion that the presentation of Jeanette Lovey-Smith, Chief Administration Officer, Autonomy Conservation, regarding the update and activities of the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority be received? First by Councillor Ashmore, second Councillor Perry. All in favor? Thank you. We'll go into Committee of the Whole, correspondence regarding Committee of the Whole recommendations. Can I have a motion for the minutes of September 10th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting to be received and the recommendations included in section 9.3 of the agenda be adopted, save and accept 9.3.3, 9.3.4, 9.3.12, 9.3.14, 9.3.18. First, Mayor Emsley, first, seconded by Councillor Richardson. All in favor? Pass. Thank you. We'll start off with 9.3.3. Councillor Smeaton.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Through you, I'd like to move that the deputation of Shane Sauvé regarding a high water bill for property located at 29 Wellington Street, Lindsay, be received, and that the request for water bill relief be forwarded to staff for review and report back by the end of Q1 2025. And if I have a seconder, I'll say a few words.
Seconded by Councillor Richardson.
Thanks again through you. Just very briefly, this was a very heartfelt deputation. Perhaps what impressed me the most was the honesty. This is an individual who came to the table, told a story that was very, very sad, and also admitted that things just happened. And it was honest, and he also thanked staff. So hopefully we can all keep that in our heads when the report comes back, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Councillor Richardson, you'd like to speak on that?
No, I don't think there's any need, Chair. I think Councillor Smeaton summed it up. It was a very well-received deputation that day, and we did understand the concerns and the financial struggles that he's having. So that's why I'm seconding it.
Any other questions on that? All in favor? Thank you. 9.3.4, Councillor Smeaton.
Thanks again through you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to move to accept this deputation, receive this deputation. If I could have a seconder, I'll say a brief.
Councillor Perry.
I just wanted to explain that this will come to Committee of the Whole as a memo, and it was very respectful of Joe Kelly and the team to help me as much as they have again over almost a year now in understanding this corridor, and Director Rojas and his team as well. So I'll send each councillor the deputation, if that's okay, tonight or tomorrow, and I invite you to visit with me and or the residents, and that way, should you choose to visit on your own, the deputation I think is a really good roadmap. Thank you.
Councillor Perry, would you like to say anything? All in favor? Thank you. 9.3.12, Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'm going to move the recommendation as printed, and I'll speak to it if I get a seconder.
Can I have a second? Mayor Emsley.
Yeah, I just want to say, this is such a special building, and I'm so glad that the owners have gone forward and want to designate it, because I spent 12 years. My business was in that building, and it was just a lovely time. And the building is incredible. It's kind of one of a kind, and that's all I wanted to say. I'm just so happy that they've decided they wanted to do that. Thank you.
Mayor Emsley, no comment? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. 9.3.14, Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just basically, I was just going to ask a question through CAO, I guess. There was correspondence before relating to this proposed sale that another party was interested. How will this work as far as the other party given a chance to possibly enter into the negotiation for the purchase of that particular property?
Robin, can you answer that?
Certainly I can. So the person that was interested in purchasing the property is not an adjacent owner, and therefore they wouldn't be entitled to purchase the property. However, in their deputation, this person whose property is in behind was concerned with a lack of highway frontage for their property when the road allowance is sold to their neighbor. So that is the concern. One of the potential solutions that deputant raised was that they could potentially enter into an agreement with the property owner that purchases the property for a sign. If that was of interest to council, then staff would look at negotiating that as an easement over the frontage of the property to be sold.
Thank you. Just one more question, please, through to Solicitor. So the bit of a background, the original owner, the original owner before that, they paid development fees in order to build that road in the first place. So does that not have any merit in their claim to have some sort of a ability to purchase that? Because they did pay development charges, the development fees, in order to construct that, because they were the very first business that was there. Does that have any weight at all?
My understanding is that the deputant is a business owner purchaser, just like any other lot owner would have purchased a lot within that subdivision. Perhaps you know more than me, though.
Okay. Yeah. I just thought, well, we have a process that we have an appraisal done, and then it's advertised, and then interested parties can participate in it and put in an application. So this is sort of where I'm struggling with, that we're not, in my opinion, we're not, for lack of better words, following that process. I'm just putting that out there. So if someone could sort of school me as to I'm wrong, maybe I'm welcome for that. But I mean, I think that there should be some ability to have this other party, have the ability to buy this property, or at least enter into some negotiation, or be part of a process where it's sold, like we usually do, sell it per linear feet, whatever, have it appraised, and it comes to council.
Is this something that we might want to discuss and bring back, Rowan?
Certainly, I can discuss with the councillor. I can discuss with the potential for this sign with the deputant and the potential purchaser, and then bring the matter back to a future council date.
Is that okay with you, Councillor?
Thank you.
So a motion to refer to, do you have a date, Councillor Ashmore?
No, there's no, whenever staff can do it, I guess, I don't know, third or first.
So the motion to refer to the first quarter, would that be acceptable?
That's fine.
I think you want to defer it to a particular council.
Go ahead, Ron.
So through the chair, so it's a deferral, so you would have to, it's time that matters in this case, so you would be deferring it to a particular meeting. Sounds like the solicitor's open and available to have some conversations. I would recommend you simply defer it to the next council meeting and that agenda, and that'll give you a month to get that background information and follow up, and then the same recommendation would be on that agenda a month later.
Councillor Ashmore, is that okay with you?
That's fine, thanks, yeah.
Okay, so you seconding for that? Councillor Perry, all in favor? Passed. 9.3.18, memorandum for solar and wind development.
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor. I'll make a motion to receive, I guess, and I have a follow-up motion.
Could I have a second? Councillor Perry.
Yeah. Well, you got to hear it first. That the that staff.
Before we go any farther, can Councillor Perry hear the motion first?
Yes, that's what I was going to just say. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was a motion just to receive.
Receive, and then I'm making a motion, so I'll do the motion. That's okay. So that staff report back to council by the end of Q1 2025 on changes to the provincial renewable energy program and the procurement of new projects, and that the report back include information and options for council to consider.
Seconded by Council Perry.
I'll just speak to it. I know it's an emotional, my motion was very emotional, and I get that. This, I think we're just doing due diligence by asking staff to do some little digging and bring it back to us, and then we can go from there. So, thank you.
Council Perry, would you like to speak about it?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just very briefly in support. We've had a lot of the province has recently released brand new guidelines around its procurement process for renewable energy, and that has repercussions across the province, including here in our own municipality. And we heard today especially about having to have all the facts and more information and able to make informed decisions around this council table. And to me, that's what this motion does. It gets more information and we'll be able to proceed with more knowledge once the report comes back. Thank you.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And through you, just need clarification. Is this memo replacing the other memo? I'm all for a report. I just don't receive willing hosts, solar and wind.
No, that you're just receiving the receive, basically. Well, not, and I'm making a new motion. So no, there's no willing host or anything, or solar or wind or anything in the motion. Okay.
Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I do want to speak, and I appreciate Council Warren rewording the ask of staff, recognizing that the province has made some changes, and they've basically done a 360 U-turn when it comes to the renewable projects. And I think for us to make a strong decision, that report does have to come back, showing all the options that were outlined in that August 28th, including wind, solar, biomass, natural gas, the whole gamut. My concern is, again, and I'm going to say this again, is nothing has changed based on the announcement. We're still, we are going to be the decision maker when it comes down to it, and the wording behind that announcement is willing or not willing. So those key questions is where is it going to be? What's the infrastructure that's going to be needed, and what's the community benefits? So I can support this ask to get the information. I still have a lot of concerns if we're going to move forward. So I just want that to be duly noted.
Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you. I appreciate the the motion coming forward, but as we discussed the last time, there's over, I think as of now, there's over 160, and I'm all for information. There's over 160 unwilling hosts in Ontario. I'm looking at the screen. As of 20 minutes ago, the province of Ontario has a demand of 17,000 megawatts. Nuclear is just shy of 10,000. Hydro, 3,000, and gas, 5,100. Wind is 689, and solar is 96. So we know that there's quite a huge discrepancy here in how we're going to make up down the future. It's just, like I had said before, I believe we have the information. And, when we described about solar farms and this coming back again, it's really touched a nerve of a lot of people, and it's put them under a lot of stress. So I just can't. It's gonna be dragging on for another few months or few quarters, I guess. But I'm just looking after number one, and number one with me is Canada and energy, Canadian energy. So our own energy, not foreign energy, foreign-made products, and that's who I'm looking after. And I just want to keep that consistent. I'll ask for a recorded vote, please, if I could. But I do appreciate the councillor bringing this forward. That's a right, and but in this case, I'm not going to support it. Thank you.
You want to wrap up? Oh, just a minute. Councillor Richardson, second time.
Yeah, I want to maybe tack on to the end of what Councillor Ashmore said as well, is that is my grave concern is too. I mean, this time around, the bidding process is going to be way more competitive. The province is looking to see how cheaply they can make that power, and that has a lot to do with the surging populations and that new act of, Ontario building more homes. like I said, underneath, I am super concerned because that announcement comes with those words, regardless, willing or not willing. And as Councillor Ashmore said, we're at 160 municipalities that are right now, having the same concerns. So it's a tough decision for me today too as well.
Would you like to wrap up?
Absolutely. And that, yes, there are that number, but there's also probably 3 times as many people that are willing hosts. So anyway, I think it's just due diligence. And also we heard today from the deputant of the young fellow who had the business here in Lindsay. I mean, I didn't know that was happening. He has a solar business and he works all over the world. So I was really blown away by that, actually. So I just want to do, as I said, do our due diligence and get a report back. And I want to say, like I said a couple weeks ago, we'll have the choice. It will be our decision to say where these things go or not, right? So where before we didn't have that choice at all. So I hope you'll support this. Thank you.
Okay, we have a first and a second. I just want to make a comment that we did remove willing host off that, and all we're asking for is just a report to come back. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. So, Councillor Ashmore, did you ask for a recorded vote? Okay.
Councillor Warren.
Favor.
Councillor Perry.
In favor?
Councillor Hill.
In favor?
Councillor Joyce.
In favor.
Mayor Elmsley.
In favor.
Councillor Ashmore.
Opposed.
Councillor Richardson.
Opposed.
Councillor Smeaton.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor McDonald.
In favor.
It passed 7-2.
Passed 7-2. Thank you. Moving on, we'll get into 10.2, the Plan and Advisory Committee minutes. Nothing's extracted, so I can have a motion of the minutes of September 11, 2024 Planning and Advisory Committee meeting be received and the recommendation included in section 10.3 of the agenda be adopted. Mayor Emsley, seconded by Councillor Warren, all in favor? That is passed. We'll get into consent matters. Councillor Ashmore, you have that.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Smeaton, that all the proposed resolutions shown in section 11.1 of the agenda be approved and adopted by council in the order that they appear on the agenda and sequentially numbered, save and except for the following items. 11.1.1, 11.1.3, 11.1.11, and 11.1.14.
All in favor? Passes. 11.1.1, Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So just let me get my ducks in a row here. So that's the site preparation bylaw. So I should have actually maybe put the tree bylaw and the site alteration bylaw together, but I have a question through you to Robin Carlson, our solicitor. Do you think that any tree bylaw going forward should mesh with a site alteration bylaw? And I'll speak to that after I hear from you. Just a question before I... do a
Yes, that's
resolution.
right. If there is a bylaw in force and effect in the municipality respecting trees on private property, then we would look at the site alteration bylaw and make sure that the site alteration bylaw lines up and works together with the other bylaw.
Well, that's good, especially with development. I know in Bob Cajun, have a couple developments. One was quite a long time before anything was built, and they clear cut. Some of the developers just clear cut. It's not just bringing in soils and whatever. It's destroying trees also. Anyway, so just on that, I do have a motion. I'd like to make a motion to receive the report and that the site alteration bylaw be returned to staff for further report on how the site alteration bylaw and tree bylaw can be aligned.
Do I have a second on that? No second?
I'll second for discussion
Okay, Councilor Perry?
So as talking to the solicitor, I guess the tree bylaw should have come first and then the site alteration bylaw. But they speak to one another. It's you can't have one without the other. So I would just like to have it set back to staff for a further report, as I said, to see how it can align with a tree bylaw if we do go that way. And really, the tree bylaw should have been first and then the site alteration bylaw.
Robin, do you have something to say to that?
Yes, so the site alteration bylaw is already in force and effect, and the proposals for amendment today are to improve the bylaw to make sure it lines up with the excess soil regulations, that it lines up with our commitment to First Nations consultation in the area of archaeology, and make sure that we have better tools for enforcement. So it would be my strong recommendation that the matter not be delayed for a potential future alteration to the bylaw.
So I totally agree, and we have talked about this. So I guess I will move it as printed, and with maybe a caveat on the tree bylaw when it does come up. So I will move it as printed.
Seconded by Councillor Richardson. All in favor? Sorry, did you have a question? Okay.
On that, and then a second motion as printed.
We had a motion to receive. Councillor Warren and Perry, yes. All in favor? Thank you.
Motion as printed, the rest of it is Warren and Richardson.
And a motion to receive? Oh, as printed? Okay. Councillor Warren, seconded by Councillor Richardson. All in favor? Thank you. Uh, 11.1.3, tree preservation bylaws. Councillor Warren.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Reading through this, it was really difficult to figure out what was what in this bylaw. So I'd like to make a motion to receive the report and to have the report returned to staff for further consideration with review by CLIAC, with a report back to Committee of the Whole meeting at the end of the first quarter in 2025, and I'll speak to it if I get a seconder.
Do I have a second? Councillor Perry.
Yeah, myself and others believe that a shoreline bylaw is the most important bylaw. So in the, we have the lake management plans. And the lake management plans were passed by a previous council. And within that plan is a recommendation to have a shoreline bylaw. Why have this bylaw? Because all urban areas of our municipality get their water from our lakes. We want to keep them as clean and healthy as possible, and trees and shrubs absorb pollutants that run off into our lakes. As well, we depend on clean and healthy water to support our water recreation. It is an economic development driver for our municipality. In my role as Vice Chair of Conservation Ontario, I attended a large forum, as I talked about, in Toronto yesterday, and I learned that there are major funds coming forward from the upper levels of government to protect fresh water. So fresh water is going to be on quite high up there. They're going to be big funds coming forward, so stay tuned. I'm also aware that many municipalities have shoreline bylaws that protect fresh water, including Haliburton, where I cottage, where they require 75% of their shoreline to be treed or have bushes, and 25% to have access to the water. The solicitor was supposed to consult further with CLIAC, and that hasn't happened. So that's why I put CLIAC in the resolution, that staff further consider with review with CLIAC, with a report back to Committee of the Whole, meeting at the end of the first quarter in 2025. It was, reading through the bylaw, there was like, I don't want to stop the bylaw for municipal land, but the other parts of it, I think, should have been separated out. So I guess that's a question also for the solicitor.
So I hear that you're interested in the motion as printed with respect to receipt of the report and the first that after it, which is to proceed with forwarding to the next council a bylaw for the city's city-owned lands as attached to the report, but that the balance of the proposed recommendations, be referred to CLIAC for further consultation and then back to council for the first quarter of 2025.
Exactly. I really truly believe that they should have been separated out. So so yes, I'll move the first part of that, and then my further motion would be that the rest of it go back to CLIAC for consultation.
Councilor Richardson.
Sorry, I need some clarification. We have 5 VATs in front of us right now. Right? We have 5. And based on the recommendation today, we could possibly move the first and second VAT, but you're asking that you're asking for the remainder 4 VATs to be deferred, because the second VAT is not asking that. It's asking us to move forward with the bylaw. And I know if City Solicitor Carlson maybe can give us just a quick, outlay based on, you have 5 here, and why you're feeling we're able to move to the first one, just from your perspective, please.
Yes, certainly. So these 2 proposed bylaws, one dealing with city-owned lands and the second one dealing with private property, Both were introduced to council last year, and then they were sent out for public consultation with the First Nations and the Métis Nation of Ontario. And then the purpose of today was to bring back those bylaws for further consideration, CLIAC as well, and the Agricultural Development Advisory Committee. And I was to bring the bylaws back for consideration following all of that, all of those comments. You will see that there was results from a jump-in survey, as well as some emails directly to a city account, treebylaw@ortholakes.ca, and the concerns related to private lands, not with respect to the city-owned lands. So it's my thought that today we could proceed with the first bylaw. It would be drafted so that it would be in force and effect for mid of next year to give staff enough time to draft the necessary administrative processes on the back end of that bylaw. But that seemed like a non-contentious bylaw that would support the city's needs at this time.
Councillor Smeaton.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Through you, just a quick question regarding I'm hearing that we've already had the public information session, and I remember it well. So there has been a public information forum, and this, I know CLIAC people are watching, and that's great. Like, no issue at all with CLIAC when I say the following. I just want to make sure, I have a question for the CAO regarding this, the possible memo. Is it even in a committee? Would it not have to be in their terms of reference as a committee to even have special purview? Like, why would CLIAC be able to see this tree canopy and have an opinion versus, you know, any other committee that also might have a vested interest? Despite the obvious, I get CLIAC would have an interest and should. Like, they are people who I would love to know their input of this, 100%. But I'm always back to policy. Is it even in their terms of reference to do? Is that even possible? I was just wondering it right off the bat.
Through the mayor, I guess two responses. Firstly, I understand it is or would be within the scope of their terms of reference. One of their items is to provide general advice on environmental matters and considerations of council. But if it wasn't, council does have the ability to refer for advice and recommendations from any of your advisory council committees. That was also done in this case, and it was done for the Agricultural Advisory Committee at the time as well, because there was a number of comments that came from those collective groups.
Perfect. So if I'm hearing you right, that was my confusion then. So CLIAC has seen this or CLIAC has not? I was getting the impression they haven't, but I'm hearing that they have, so I'm confused.
They were Robin was going to come back to CLIAC with the bylaw. We had some talk, but we didn't actually make any changes yes. So the solicitor was to come back to CLIAC. So before this came forward, so it was a little bit of a, shock.
Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to Ms. Carlson. So in the proposed motion here, we would just be concentrating on publicly owned, like city-owned land, which would be our forestry management. So we're still going to be adding staff for other projects other than, for example, forestry management, like clearing underbrush and our forests, like the Emily Tract and the Somerville Tract. Are we taking away or de-emphasizing roadside brushing and that sort of thing? Or this is what people are concerned about, that we're embarking on a new project, but we may or may not neglect another part that we're doing right now. Like, this is something that will affect the other things that we do in the city as far as looking after forestry.
No, this bylaw does not impact any of our operations. It doesn't apply to our roadside clearing, our forest management, and so that will all continue in the same vein. This largely supports the Management Directive 2022, number 7, which is requests by individuals to build roads on the city's unopened road allowances and the cost recovery that the city would obtain for the trees relating to those requirements, but does not impact utilities, conservation authorities, or anything along those lines, and can be implemented using existing staffing resources.
Okay, so the second question is there's no additional need for staffing resources then?
Not with respect to this bylaw, no.
Thank you.
Mayor Helmsley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you to Ms. Carlson, if I could. I don't see anything about developers in here. Are they included someplace else?
So the matter that is proposed to be tabled is with respect to the second bylaw, which is focusing on privately owned lands in 2 specific areas, development, as well as in the context of shoreline owners. So that I have been speaking with the development community with respect to this bylaw, as the proposal is that that would continue to be the development specifically would be the focus of any future bylaw coming forward.
Thank you. And the last 3, that I don't see any reason to exclude them, because what you're going to do is go and talk to some folks and then report back to council. Is that correct?
That is correct. When I did go through the public consultation, it was suggested to me that there would be some benefit for me reaching out to the Ontario Woodlot Association. I had some really great conversations with Fleming College. And so the last 3 that's are just a proposed continued discussion regarding other areas for consideration for the city in the future.
Thank you. And I guess my last point on if and when we include shoreline properties, those will be grandfathered that exist right now. It will only apply to new developments. Is that correct?
So the private lands bylaw, the recommendations were that we not proceed with a shoreline bylaw for existing homes, existing properties, but that we take that bylaw and narrow the scope to only look at in the development context if there are tree removals.
Thank you. You know, I understand that you've agreed to talk to CLIAC and Ag Society and others, so I'm quite happy with that, and you know, could move this report as printed. And whatever happens, I'd certainly like to see the last 3 that's included in any motion. Thank you.
Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you, I have to admit, I think there's bylaws all over the place in this report, and I think I misunderstood parts of it. I was focused here on the bylaws being narrowed and scoped to apply to development applications, to developers, and get that through, and then while we pass that, we can take a step back and look at urban canopy, the CLIAC, the Woodlot Association. That's what I'm focused on, and I want to get, you know, I've had a very unfortunate experience with a development in Kings Bay where a lot of trees were taken down by a developer that did not have to come down. A lot of people are upset with that. So we don't want that to happen again. So I'd like to get this through and we can amend the tree bylaw on all those other issues as soon as we can. Is that where we're at, or is there a second bylaw we're looking at?
And you're not completely wrong in that the recommendations for narrowing the scope on the private lands are to be narrowed to development, and that's to be brought back at the end of this year for consideration. And again, an in-force date of mid-July next year. So that is a sort of a closer to now timeline. The last three that's for urban canopy, woodlots, were all for next year, end of next year, because those came up in the context of this consultation, that additional research should be done to consider bylaws in those areas or incentives in those areas. And so those are for the farther future. And then what is being proposed for on the table today was the only non-contentious bylaw, which is relating to city-owned property.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Warren, are you going to accept the friendly amendment to include the last three that's? Go ahead.
Of the solicitor. So if we pass this today, are shorelines out? Like, where can shorelines come in going forward? I guess that's what I want to know.
The proposal today would be to look at shorelines in the context of development, but not in the context of the individual homeowner who's, say, just cutting down a couple trees to provide themselves better sight lines to the water.
So in our official plan, I'm just wondering, is there any comments about shorelines in amount of greenery versus, 25 versus 75? Is there somewhere in anything written? I think there is. So if not, it should be. If not, then I would be bringing something else forward, because this is how the whole tree bylaw came to light, was through lake management plans. So if there's nothing there to support lake management, then what was the point? That was supposed to be the first tree bylaw coming forward. So I'm not sure if I can support that. If we're not going to have anything to do with that, it just seems wrong to me to support this. So I can't support it. Although there, wood lots, I mean, that's great. I can support that, but if you're not going to have shorelines, I can't support that.
Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, through you. So, City Solicitor Carlson, based on what Councillor Warren's just proposed, those three last that's, you can look into shorelines based on the commenting that you will be having with CLIAC, right? That could be part of the commenting process. But today, we've got those two that's, which is, receiving this report, and the second one is the appendix, which is just being a bylaw to protect and enhance the healthy tree canopy in city ownership. Am I correct? That's the actual
That's correct, yeah.
That's it, right? And the recitals are right under it. So it's really just the bylaw to look after that city ownership first and get moving on that component, where the other three that's will be followed up with pending reports from you to us.
Yes, and in order to address the concerns of Councillor Warren, it is the third that the proposed tree preservation on private property be narrowed in scope to only apply to development applications. That would be struck and replaced by further consultation with CLIAC. and a report back to this council.
I think that could probably work. Like,
Yeah.
we can get moving, but also make
Yeah.
sure that we're adding on the additional concerns that were brought to the table today.
Yeah, so I can move that, and thank you, and the third, that, we'll strike that out.
We still have a couple comments here.
Oh,
Mayor,
sorry,
Mayor Emsley.
okay.
Thank you. As someone who was intimately involved in the lake management plans, number one, the lake management plans did not touch existing properties. What it said was, we will, through education, try and get people to protect their shorelines to 75-25. They did not have an edict. They did not get a bylaw passed that said that. It was strictly up to individual ownership, and the pressure would come from property owners who decided to take care of their property and to look after it and to protect the shorelines. There was never anything that said they must do it. But for new properties, new developments, it was 75-25. And that is consistent through all of the lake management. It was to educate homeowners to protect the shorelines and to protect the lakes that went forward. So there was never anything that said that existing property owners must do it. And I wanted to make sure that that's fully understood. So I think that my feeling is this can go forward with a commitment from Ms. Carlson that she is going to talk to CLIAC and she is going to talk to the other groups, agriculture and others, to bring this back, and we will see where it goes in the future. But in order to move ahead today, I think we should move it as printed, and that's my feeling. Thank you.
Councillor CEO might be able to help us out here.
Sure. To the mayor, so maybe just for clarity, because again, some of it is crossing over. There's actually three sort of actions here today. One is a bylaw on public lands only, which I think was talked about, and there seems to be agreement. The second is a bylaw that applies to private lands, and right now the recommendation is to adopt a bylaw that is narrowed in scope to focus on development. The third pieces are follow-up actions that the solicitor had described. So really, I think the debate is on that third recommendation about the private. And what I think staff are suggesting at this point, if there is an appetite to look at the bylaw focused on shorelines, there still is merit, and you should consider adopting a bylaw today as a baseline for private lands with that scoped sort of focus on development so that we can address some of the issues that are happening right now. And certainly if Councillor Warren in this case is looking for expansion on that private lands bylaw, and based on the timelines that you described, I would suggest or recommend a follow-up motion that would then be, and that the staff be directed to review the private property tree preservation bylaw in consultation with whomever council sees appropriate, with a focus on shoreline protections, and then bring that back at the end of the first quarter, I believe, that was suggested. But you should parse that out from the current, because right now the private lands bylaw does focus on a number of other protections that there is quite a gap currently.
So
That would be a follow-up then, just to move what's there and then do a follow-up resolution? Is that what you're suggesting?
That would be my recommendation,
Yeah.
if you're comfortable with it, based on what is already proposed today and an understanding of those different actions today. So better in a follow-up motion so that you have, specific parameters and focus and can refer it to the proper committees for consultation, et cetera. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so if I get this straight, the motion, the first one would be as printed, and then we'll have another motion to follow. Is that correct? Okay, so there's a motion as printed. Pat, I guess you started that, so as printed for the first one?
I guess so, yes.
And second was by Councillor Perry, yes? All in favor? Passed. Now, the second motion would be a follow-up. And what would you like that to say, Pat? Councillor?
Just what the CAO said. That a follow, that staff follow up with CLEAC and other advisory committees in the city for input on a shoreline bylaw that will also include trees, tree removal or tree bylaw. And just to speak to that, the mayor, that if somebody does a severance, so that's new development, and that's happening all over the place. You know, we're getting monster homes and that sort of thing going on, and other municipalities are bringing in shoreline bylaws to. Yeah, you can, because it's wild. So just to say that there are many sides to lake management.
Okay, for the follow-up motion, CEO Taylor is going to read it back to us, and then we can make that decision.
So through the chair, so then using the language already that the tree preservation on private property bylaw, because you are adopting a core bylaw today, be referred back to staff for review and consultation with CLEAC and the Agricultural Advisory Committee, among others, to review additional protections, tree protections related to shoreline properties.
That's the first, you, Councillor Warren. Seconded by Councillor Smeaton. All in favor? Passed. Next on the list is 11.1.11. Mayor Elmsley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and through you, I wanted Council to be aware that this report, CA 2024-003, the early start approval for designated proposed 2025 capital and special projects, if you approve this today, you won't, it will be done. So it can't be extracted when we have budget deliberations. You will have already dealt with it today and passed it, I expect. There are also some other things we have to do with the early start as a result of the strong mayor powers that don't necessarily cover what we're doing with the early starts. So we have report CA 2024-003, early start approval for designated proposed 2025 capital and special projects be received, and that the capital projects identified in Table 1 of report CA 2024-003 proceed early as part of the 2025 tax-supported capital budget as per mayoral decision 07-2024, that the special projects identified in Table 2 of report CA 2024-003 proceed early as part of the 2025 special projects budget as per mayoral decision 07-2024. That Council approve proceeding with grant applications under the Connecting Links program for the King Street Bridge expansion joints by November 13th, 2024, as per Table 1 of Report CA 2024-003, and that Council approve proceeding with a grant application under the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund for the Emily O'Mimi Arena Ice Pad System by October 29th, 2024, as per Table 1 of Report CA 2024-003, and that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to execute any documents and agreements required by the approval of this agreement. So I need a seconder for that.
Seconded by Councillor Richardson.
And speaking to it, as I said, if you approve this today, those projects will be going forward, and you will not have them for the regular budget deliberations. They are like we are doing an early budget for those projects. And the reason for doing it is, of course, to get started on them early, because they take a long time to do, and if we don't get into the queue, we get backed up. So these are staff recommendations coming forward, and I hope you support them. Thank you.
We have a few people here. Councillor Yo. Sorry, sorry, Councillor Yo. Councillor Richardson seconded it, so I'll let her speak first.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor Chair. I know I've been waiting to say that all meeting. Yeah, absolutely. This is a new process. It's slightly different than what we've been faced with in the past, but I think it's critical that these early starts do happen, because some of them do relate to service disruptions that we do not want to take under in our jurisdiction, so to speak. There's grant applications and funding that is pressing at this time, and there's also addressing some of the time-sensitive needs of some of these projects. So I don't think anybody that put this together, took this lightly. They know that these are major pressures that we're receiving, and today moving forward, these are ones that are hot topic items that we need to address a little quicker in the process. So I'm in support for those reasons alone.
Councillor Yo.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and through you. I'm in favor of early starts. I'm in favor of just about everything on here, with the exception of the Somerville Third Concession Bridge. I knew it was going to come up eventually, so here it is. And so the last term of council, the consultant came in and he asked, or he presented, and council, I believe at that time, asked him to come back with some other options, turn off, traffic control and stuff, and an option of using the brand new $3 million bridge we already have a couple kilometers up from the third concession, and using Polson Road to go over to 121. So it's going to add about 3 minutes to the drive and save millions of dollars, and not build a bridge and save a lot of heartache. So that never happened. I don't think anybody's ever alleviated the fears of the people who live on the third concession of Somerville, who don't want this throughway going past their house. The only people who seem to want this is the people downtown Fountain Falls. The Fountain Falls Councilor, the mayor, and those people. So they're push and push and push. And has anybody ever gone out and alleviated the fears of those people on the third line? Have we looked at other options? We're using a bridge that's there, that we paid $3 million to put in. And how much is this whole thing going to cost? I've been fighting this and asking this question since this term of council. This whole term of council, I've been asking. I've always been told, oh, it's not a done deal. It's not a done deal. And right here, it says right here, to proceed with the Fenelon bypass from Highway 35 north of 3rd Concession. So, I don't know. I'm not going to vote to include this in the project. I think there has to be more public consultation. I think there has to be fears alleviated. And I think there has to be other options looked at. So, there I am. Thank you.
Councillor Joyce.
I think somebody at the table should respond to Councillor Yo's concerns first, and then if you don't mind, come back to me. I have other questions not related to the bridge.
Okay, who would like to start with Councillor Warren.
So, Councillor Yo, this is an EA, and it doesn't mean that it's a fait accompli, that it's going to happen. It's in my ward. I've had people who definitely don't want it, and I've actually heard from people in the area, not necessarily on the 3rd, but other people in the area who do want it, because a lot of times the trucks go around and go all around that area. So to have one route would make more sense. But that being said, it's just an EA. Maybe it will not be something that we choose to do. So I would support it just to go forward to get an environmental assessment. But at that time, I'll have to look at all the parameters, and then I will go from there. But as I said, I've had lots of complaints from there and lots of people who want it because there are trucks going on all the side roads around that area. So, thank you.
Councillor Perry.
Thank you very much. And just to follow on the discussion here on this item from what Councillor Warren said, and just to provide some response to Councillor Yo's longstanding concerns. I mean, this began as a line item in last year's budget, and it was then put over under the auspices of an early start in order to ensure a lower capital budget. So here we are at that stage. So it's not taking one by surprise. And I too have heard from some residents, although not in my ward, who are fine with a bypass. However, this is the environmental assessment. And it's not just downtown Fenland people who I've heard from on this. These are people who want to have the traffic diverted. They want to have extend the life cycle of the current bridge, which I must say is safe. I want to underscore that. But in terms of perhaps extending the life cycle of the current bridge by taking and alleviating traffic, and also, as Councillor Richardson mentioned, putting off or delaying at least service interruptions in terms of the needed repairs that could come with additional wear and tear. So for all of these reasons, this is the proper place for this, to begin the environmental assessment process. Again, it's an assessment, and see where that leads us. If nothing else, for what I've heard too, some peace of mind for some folks who aren't sure whether this is coming or not. And this will help definitely be a determinative step. So I submit that for consideration and support this item in early start, as was discussed at budget time last year.
Councillor Smeaton.
Just a quick point of clarification through you, Deputy Mayor, to Director Rojas. I'm reading this differently than what I'm hearing, and then, so I just need clarification. The last sentence is this would entail commencing the environmental assessment. To me, that suggests that it is, in fact, to proceed with the Fenland bypass from Highway 35 north to 3rd concession. That is what we would be approving, which within that commences with the environmental assessment. And I just want to make sure, I don't believe this is just the environmental assessment being triggered. I think it's the way I read it. So I need.
Councillor Ross.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So this project, as an early start, approves funds to commence the environmental assessment on 3rd concession. So as part of the earlier EA that looked at various options, it recommended a couple different things. It recommended going to the next step for the Fenland Falls bypass through Somerville 3rd. It recommended protecting for the in-town crossing, future, long-term. And it recommended other communications enhancements within the village of Fenland Falls. So this will look at what the logistics are in order to construct the bridge at Somerville 3rd. It will include detailed environmental assessments of the Burnt River bed, the span, the impact to the road network surrounding the 3rd concession, So that's what the EA is going to look at. And it'll come back, and it'll say what the constraints are, what the benefits are, what the costs are, and it will say, yes, it's doable, or no, it's not doable. It will also identify land acquisitions, if any. It would assess the noise impact of the community, all those things that the environmental assessment process does. But it will look at the logistics and the feasibility of constructing a bridge on Somerville 3rd.
Thank you very much. I just read it wrong, so thanks for clarifying that.
Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you. Just a question through you to Director Rojas. So on the chart, it says environmental assessment and design. We just hear environmental assessment, but you're designing a bridge, are we not? Because it says design, so we're designing it as well, the engineers, the consultant?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So typically when we do an environmental assessment, we include the design to go with it for twofold, right? One is, so they have to go sequential. The environmental assessment has to happen first, and then the feasibility has to be determined yes or no. So it's a go, no go. If it's a go, then we move into design. If it's a not go, then we collapse the project and we don't move into design. The reason why we join them together is because it's very difficult to hire consultant A to do the EA and then consultant B to do the design. It's more beneficial to hire consultant A to do both the EA and design, even though they're doing it sequential to each other. So that's the main reason why we budget for both the EA and design as one project, but they're done sequentially. So the EA is done first, subject to that outcome, they move on to the design. It's solely for logistical purposes when we procure for a consultant.
Councillor Ward.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So we're putting it in the budget, the design of the bridge, but we may not actually go forward. So that would just be put into another reserve or whatever if we choose not to do it, right?
Correct. Through you, Mr. Chair, you can see in the report, table 1, the lion's share of the funding for the summer. So all the funding for the Somerville 3rd concession EA and design is coming from DC reserves. So again, if you don't utilize it, it just goes back in. But the recommendation through the previous EA that looked at various different options was to further investigate the location of the Somerville 3rd for a possible bypass route.
Okay. Councillor Joyce.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through you. And thanks for the clarification there on the and design, because it's always blown me away that environmental assessments cost so much money, but it includes the design too, so that's good to know. I'm in full support of this. I just have a couple questions. The Emily Arena ice pad system debentured at $2.9 million. Does that include the where's the 1 million grant come in? Is it really costing us 3.9 less than 1 million grant, or is it once you get a grant, that debenture drops down to 1.9?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Great question, Councillor Joyce. We have not budgeted for a successful grant at this point. The resolution is seeking Council's adoption to proceed with the application, and then at such time as we know whether we are successful or not, we would sub out some of the grant funding for the debenture, and at a future capital close, we would return that debenture funding and take it off the table.
Thank you. But reading in the report here, it looks we're pretty favorable. We're meeting all the checking all the boxes for that grant money, I believe. Are we not?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, but we tend to not put grant funding in until we have that letter in our hand that we've been successful.
It's a good practice to wait for the monies in the bank before you count it. Thank you very much.
Yes, so we'll go back to Mayor Amsley for your motion to move this forward.
Yeah, I'll be brief.
I got my hand up there, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Go ahead, Councillor Yo.
Thank you. And just want to follow up my last point. So this is a foregone conclusion. So it's they're going money for design of a bridge. they're going to look at what it's going to take environmental assessment for the bridge. And so what I want to know is what happened to, or did we just adopt this as a preferred option? And so this is it. This is the only option. Yet now it's going to be a yes or no decision. Or what happened to the other options? Or is this the preferred option? Because I don't recall this being, I recall going asking for more options before we picked a preferred option. So just refresh my memory, I could be wrong. Please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the resolution of council, again, was all the above. So protect for an in-town crossing in the long term. Investigate through a municipal class CEA for the Somerville Third Crossing bypass, and to improve signage and flow at the intersection of where the Sobeys intersection is. So that was the option, that was the resolution of council. So now we're moving with the next step to investigate the immediate project, which would be the bypass at Somerville Third Concession.
Is that the answer, Councillor Yo?
No, go ahead. I'm speaking against the motion.
Okay.
That part of the motion anyway. So I know it can't be separated, so I guess I'm voting against the whole thing. Thank you.
Mayor Amsley, want to wrap up?
Thank you. I think we need to approve these, and I understand Councillor Yo's concerns, and I think as we go forward with the EEA, I think there are opportunities to look at other alternatives, and I have taken the opportunity to discuss a couple of them with Director Rojas, and I will continue to do so to see if there are other things that are feasible. But I believe until we do the EA and we see what's possible and what the scope is, that we will not know whether this is a good idea or a bad idea. And the other things certainly need to go forward in order to get done in the 2024 calendar year. So I hope Council is supportive of it. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Councillor Richardson. All in favor? And that passes. 11.1.14, Councillor Joyce.
Yes. Sorry, 1 second. I have to find my place here. So I guess point of order. Do I have some questions on this. Do I accept? Like, can I accept it as printed with questions? How do I go ahead with process?
He's asking the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to move it as printed, but I have to get a second or I have questions.
Move as printed, seconded by Councillor Warren. All in favor? No? Got to wait for questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So the water source protection at Kings Bay is the #1 issue with Kings Bay residents. As you can imagine, the residents that are living there now are dead set against this development to begin with. And available water is the #1 key concern. Is Amber Hayter available? Is she online? Okay. All right. I'll go to Brian.
Just the director's here.
Director Robertson, please. So I have some questions. The fourth wellhead. Do you know? Like, I read the report, but I'm not an engineer, so I'm trying to discern. whether it comes from the same aquifer or does it come from a different one, from the existing 3 wells? That's question 1.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to the councillor. My understanding is that well was drilled to the same aquifer as the existing wells for that system.
So my understanding reading through that, they shut different wells off and they're pumping water, and the study does say there's enough water for all homes, including the new 46 units being built. There's no issue there. If you can you confirm that?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to the councillor. Personally, I can't confirm that. The engineering consultants that have gone through that exercise, they've drilled new wells into that aquifer and done the pump tests on those to confirm that they can get enough capacity to service that community. That was done through a third-party engineering group. Again, I've seen the documents, but I have not been part of that design process.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Okay, I've got some more questions, but I'll contact the engineer directly because I know I'm going to get questions from Kings Bay residents and I need to be fully informed on this. Thank you very much.
So it's Deputy Mayor, just to reconfirm, I guess, the report that's in front of council today is about source water protection. It's not about the design or the increase or capacity or any of those factors for the system itself. It's about ensuring that we have adequate information on record and within the Wellhead Protection and Source Protection Committee to ensure that the source water is protected. So it's not really about the capacity of the system, the design of the system, and the enhancements that are still forthcoming through the future design. But it's really about amending the wellhead protection area on record so that we can ensure that we meet the obligations under the Clean Water Act.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, we had a motion to receive as printed, seconded by Councillor Warren. All in favor? That's passed. Thank you. We'll go to 12.1 is we're going to petitions. And 12.1, the first one is a request of resurfacing Heights Road north of Kawartha Lakes Road 36. What is council's wish? Councillor Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. First, I wanted to thank the people who put this together. I've been in touch with Mr. Penny and the people that live down that road, Heights Road. Heights Road, as everybody knows, is probably one of our longest roads in the city of Kawartha Lakes. This is the very northern tip of Heights Road, north of Highway 36. And it's one of the very few unpaved roads on Highway 36 that goes north. And there's a lot of people that live down there, and they've requested, we have actually put, I think, 4,000 tons, if engineering can correct me, of gravel in the last 3 years to build the base up, which is great, but they've asked that this be considered, and either we put it in for consideration into maybe the roads task force or some way, if it could be received. That's basically what they're looking for, and we can consider it at a future budget, 2026 budget or 27, if we could. So just to receive it and forward to staff, please.
Just one point, the group that's looking after the road task force does not deal with that. Anything like that has to go to the mayor, a memo to the mayor.
That's true, but their last task force, though, we did talk about case studies and that sort of thing. So case studies are the members can bring forward roads that we can discuss. So no decisions will be made, obviously, at the roads task force, but just be considered. So I'm not sure whether that's maybe Councillor Perry can elaborate there yet.
So your motion is to receive?
Receive it, and we can discuss it at our next meeting, I guess, and see how we can move it forward.
How about we receive it and forward it back to staff for some comments? Oh, Councillor Perry.
Just to lead in procedurally for Councillor Ashmore, the agenda item for case studies is free for councillors on the task force to bring forward at their discretion. No motion from or resolution or direction from council is required.
Could I forward it to staff for consideration then? Yeah, we could do
Okay,
that.
motion to receive and forward back to staff for consideration. Second it. Councillor Richardson, all in favor? That passes. Next one, 12.2, a request for a dog park in the village of Omimi. 244 signatures. What is the council's wish there? Councillor Ashmore.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got 3 in a row here. Just coincidence, but anyways, I was asked by Ms. Bailey about this, and there's people in Omimi and surrounding area that are looking for a park. We talked about this yesterday, actually, myself and Director Johnson. There's a few options that we could do, but it depends on. I think we might discuss it more on the 9th of October. Maybe it might be an addition to the Emily Omimi Community Center. It's kind of tight for space to have it downtown. Most people who bring their dogs are going to be bringing them. They're not going to be walking them there, although some will. But it's just a consideration that we could maybe incorporate it into a future plan for most likely the Emily Omimi Community Center, or it could be the beach park, but that's most likely a option for it. So just to receive and maybe report to staff or forward to staff.
Again, motion to receive and forward back to staff for a report. Could I have a second on that? Councillor Perry, all in favor? Passed. 12.3, request for a cleanup of the restoration of the Omimi Beach. And that looks like it'll probably be yours also, Mr. Ashmore.
Councillor Richardson, take that one.
Councillor Richardson.
Thank you. I'll take this one because we do share, Emily. This particular request for restoration of the Omimi Beach Park, originally Ms. Patterson had done a change.org petition. I did read the article when Kawartha Lakes this week had posted. Knowing Ms. Patterson from high school, knowing that I'm on the Kawartha Conservation and being on the Parks Advisory Board, I did reach out to Ms. Patterson to have a conversation. I believe that she has been in discussions with our park team, and I believe that they will come to the meeting on October 9th at the Emily Omimi Arena, discussed about the future Omimi Beach Park. So I think everything is good, and we just need to receive this.
Okay, motion to receive, second it. Councillor Ashmore, all in favor? Thank you. 12.4, a request of the City of Kawartha Lakes to collaborate with the Ministry of Transportation for the implementation of traffic lights or a roundabout at Emily Road, Highway 7, Kawartha Lakes. What would staff like to do that? Councillor Smeaton.
I move to receive, through you, Deputy Mayor, I move to receive and refer to staff for input.
Could I have a second on that? Councillor Richardson, all in favor? That's passed. Other business, bylaws. Councillor Perry, I see you have the motions for that.
Well, yes, I do, Deputy Mayor. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Warren that the bylaws shown in section 14.1 of the agenda, namely items 14.1.1, 2 and including 14.1.21, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, numbered, signed, and the corporate seal attached.
All in favor? And that's passed. Okay, 16 closed session, 16.1. I need a motion to adopt the closed session agenda. Can I have a mover and a second for following? Councillor Ashmore, Councillor Joyce, that the closed session agenda be adopted as circulated. Okay, all in favor? Got a little confused there. 16.2 is disclosure of community interest in the closed session. Are there any disclosure of community interest in any of the items listed on the closed session agenda? Seeing none. At this point at the meeting, City Council will go into closed session to consider under section 16.3 of the agenda. As per our procedural bylaw requirements, I'm asking all electronic participants in our meeting today to confirm to me by raising their hands that they are in a private room where no other person can overhear the deliberations and the internet connection is secure and no publicly accessible. Okay. Can I have a mover and a second for the following? That the council convene into closed session at 3:52, pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act, in order to consider matters identified in section 16.3 of the regular council meeting agenda of Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, namely items 16.3.1 and including 16.3.5. A mover? Mayor Emsley, second. Councillor Warren, all in favor? At this point, the meeting broadcast will now end. For the members of the public watching the Kojo your TV cable, the live stream of the meeting of the YouTube and the here broadcasted by cable and Rogers will now be temporarily paused for the members of the public. When closed session is complete, the live stream will rebroadcast of this meeting will resume and address the remaining open sessions items on the agenda. All remaining staff and the exceptions of those involved with closed sessions are now instructed to leave the electronic meeting and council chambers at this time. Need a motion for that? Matters of closed session. Madam Clerk, is there any matters from our closed session?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Item 16.3.1, the confidential closed session minutes for the regular council meeting of August 27th, 2024 were approved. Item 16.3.2, the solicitor provided an update and received instructions with respect to appeals brought to the Ontario Land Tribunal respecting the Omimi secondary plan. Item 16.3.3, council provided direction to staff regarding obtaining interests over the subject lands in the form of easements along Craigo Street, Kinmount. A motion is required that expenditures associated with this easements along Craigo Street, Kinmount be funded from the Property Development Reserve to the upset limit mentioned in closed session.
Councilor Warren, seconded by Councilor Smeaton. All in favor? Thank you. 18.1, any motion that the bylaw, whoops, sorry.
Motion required, no motion required. Staff, item 16.3.4, staff provide council with the information regarding a proposed acquisition of land to acquire title to a portion of traveled road encroaching on private property. Council provided direction to staff. Item 16.3.5, an appraisal was provided to council for information purposes. That is all from closed session.
Thank you. 18.1, that the bylaw to stop up and close part of the shoreline road allowance around Duck Lake in the geographical township of Blackstone, City of Kawartha Lakes, designated by Part 4 of Plan 57R 11157, and to authorize the sale of this land to the abutting owner, 2612 Victoria Lake Road, Kirkfield, be read the first, second, and third time, pass number sign, and corporate seal attached. I have a mover. Councillor Richardson, second. Councillor Joyce, all in favor? That is passed. Confirming bylaw, Councillor Joyce has that.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, and through you, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Warren, that a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of a regular council meeting held Tuesday, September 24th, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, numbered, signed, and this corporate seal attached.
All in favor? And that passes. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Smeaton, Mayor Doug Lemsley. All in favor? Thanks, everybody.